The hidden map within you. Imagine for a second that all those things you wrestle with, every nagging fear, every whisper of self-doubt, aren't just roadblocks to push past. What if they're actually a treasure map, guiding you straight to the heart of who you're meant to be? Today we're diving into something life-changing, Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, a concept that's less about stuffy psychology and more about unlocking truths that can flip your world upside down. Subscribe to our channel and put alerts not to miss new interesting videos. This isn't some abstract lecture, it's a journey into the messy, beautiful parts of yourself you've probably tried to shove under the rug. By the time we're done, you'll see how this shadow isn't just a flaw to fix, but a secret key to your purpose, your potential, and a freedom you didn't even know you were missing. Stick with me, because the big reveal at the end might just be the spark that changes everything. Jung, a genius who dug deep into the human mind, said the shadow is that unconscious chunk of ourselves we don't want to admit exists. It's packed with traits, urges, and quirks we've labeled as bad or wrong, stuff we'd rather pretend isn't there. But here's the wild twist. That same shadow holds the raw material for your greatest strengths and a life that actually feels right. Think about how often you dodge certain thoughts or slap a smile over feelings that scare you. We all do it, hiding from the uncomfortable bits like they're the boogeyman. But what if those exact pieces are trying to tell you something huge about who you are? Maybe that anxiety you hate isn't a glitch. It's a signal pointing you toward a truth you've been too busy running from. Now picture this. Every time you cringe at someone else's behavior, it might be your shadow waving a little flag. Jung had this killer line. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. So next time someone gets under your skin, say that loud guy at work or your cousin who's always bragging, maybe it's not just them. Maybe it's a peek into your own hidden corners, a chance to see what you've tucked away. This shadow isn't some gloomy curse. It's a goldmine of energy we've buried because we're too freaked out or embarrassed to face it. Take a sec to look at your own life. What's that one thing you keep locked away? Fear of screwing up, a simmering resentment, or maybe a dream you've written off as silly. It's all part of the map. We spend so much time polishing our good sides for the world, but Jung said the real juice is in the stuff we've banished to the basement. Here's where it gets real. Jung believed that facing the shadow isn't just about feeling better, it's about becoming whole. He called it individuation, a fancy word for figuring out who you really are, not just the polished version you show off. It's like piecing together a puzzle where half the pieces are stashed under the couch. Tough, sure, but once you find them, the picture's unreal. Let's zoom out a bit. Society's always telling us to be perfect. Smile big, hustle hard, don't mess up. But Jung flipped that script. Perfection's a dead end. Wholeness is the goal. Your shadow's not here to sabotage you. It's the gritty, unfiltered part that makes you human, and maybe even extraordinary. Ever think that the stuff you hate about yourself could be the fuel for your biggest wins? This is an easy street. Peeking into the shadow takes some serious nerve. You're not just glancing at the shiny surface. You're diving into the deep end, where the real you's been chilling all along. And trust me, that journey's got some serious payoffs waiting. Clarity, guts, a life that's yours, not some borrowed blueprint. The shadow, as your secret guide. Let's dig deeper into this shadow thing. It's not just lurking in the background. It's actively trying to talk to you. Jung saw it as this undercover guide, dropping hints through your dreams, your freakouts, and even the people you can't stand. Ever wonder why you keep having that same weird dream? Like running from something you can't see? Or why certain folks push your buttons like it's their job? Think about those moments when you lose it, yelling at a coworker over a dumb email or snapping at your partner for leaving dishes in the sink. Later you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? That's your shadow popping up, waving a neon sign that says, hey, pay attention. I got something to show you if you just stop ignoring me. Jung had this cool idea about why it's so loud sometimes. The more you ignore it, the harder it fights to be heard. It's like shoving a beach ball underwater. Eventually, it's going to shoot back up and splash you in the face. Picture all that energy you waste keeping it down. Now imagine letting it surface, sitting with it and asking, okay, what's your story? Suddenly you're not just reacting, you're in the driver's seat. Here's a fun one. Projection. Jung said when we shove parts of ourselves into the shadow, we start spotting them everywhere else, like seeing your own insecurity in that coworker who brags too much or your fear of rejection in that friend who's always too busy. Next time someone annoys you, like that neighbor who's obnoxiously cheerful, flip the script and ask, what's this saying about me? It's like the world's holding up a mirror, daring you to look. This isn't about pointing fingers at yourself. It's about cracking open a mystery. Maybe you hate that loudmouth because deep down you're scared to speak up, or because you wish you had their guts. Or maybe you judge the lazy guy at the gym because you're secretly terrified of slowing down and facing what's inside. These little flare-ups, they're breadcrumbs leading you back to your shadow. The coolest part? Your shadow's not just stirring up drama, it's tied to your purpose. Those buried bits, like a creative streak you've ignored because it won't pay the bills, or a passion you've called dumb since high school, might be the exact stuff meant to light your path. Jung thought your real purpose isn't out there somewhere, floating in the ether. It's inside, tangled up in the parts you've been too scared to claim. Take a minute to think. What's one thing you've always pushed away because it felt too risky or raw? Could be a temper you hate, a wild idea you've never chased, or even a quiet longing you've brushed off as impractical, like wanting to paint or travel or just be alone sometimes. What if that's not a flaw, but a signal pointing you towards something big, something only you can do? This shadow geek takes guts. Looking at stuff you'd rather forget isn't exactly a picnic. We're trained to keep things neat, to show the world our Instagram-filtered selves, but Jung said that's a trap. Real life's in the mess. The freedom on the other side, that's where you start living like you, not some watered-down version everyone else expects. Here's the kicker. Your shadow's been with you forever, like a shadow literally is, stuck to your heels, waiting for you to turn around. It's not going anywhere, so why not make it an ally? Every clue it drops, every overreaction, every why do I care so much, is a chance to uncover what makes you tick. Tools to face the darkness. So how do you even start wrestling with this shadow thing? It's not like it comes with a manual, but Jung gave us some solid tricks to get the ball rolling, stuff you can actually use without needing a PhD. First up, awareness. Just noticing what's going on when you feel off is half the battle, and it's simpler than it sounds. Try this. Next time you're ticked off, like when your boss skips over your idea, or weirdly jealous of someone's Instagram perfect life, hit pause. Ask yourself, why is this hitting me so hard? What's this digging up that I've been pretending isn't there? It's like being your own detective, sniffing out the shadow's fingerprints in the everyday chaos of your emotion. Journaling, another killer tool. Jung was obsessed with it, and for good reason. Grab a notebook and spill out your dreams, your rants, whatever's bubbling up. Don't overthink it. Just let it flow. Ever notice a pattern like that dream where you're lost in a maze or yelling at someone who won't listen? That's your shadow texting you from the unconscious, dropping hints about what's really eating at you. Here's a wild one. Talk to your shadow like it's a person. Sounds nuts, right? But imagine sitting it down, maybe it's that knot of anger or that quiet shame, and asking, what's your deal? What do you want me to know? You can scribble it out in a journal, whisper it in your head while you're stuck in traffic, or even picture it over coffee. It's about giving your hidden self a voice. Acceptance comes next, and no, it's not about going rogue with every crazy impulse, like punching a wall or quitting your job on a whim. It's more like saying, okay, I see you, anger or envy or whatever, and I'm not going to freak out about it or pretend you're not real. It's owning it without letting it run the show, like taming a wild dog instead of locking it in the garage. Picture how chill you'd feel if you stopped stressing over your bad sides. That fear of failing that keeps you up at night. Maybe it's just proof you care a ton about getting it right. That envy you feel when your friend lands a big win could be a nudge towards something you're dying to chase, like a promotion or a passion project you've shelved. Let's get real. We're wired to hide this stuff. Society's all about looking flawless, right? But Jung said that's a lie. The shadow's where the growth happens, and these tools are your shovel. Start small, maybe just jot down one trigger a day, like why your sister's smug advice makes you want to scream and see what it's pointing to. Another angle, watch your body, it's in on this too. Ever get a tight jaw when someone brags or a pit in your stomach when you scroll past a perfect post? That's your shadow tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, let's unpack this. Pair that with a quick why question, and you're already rolling. This isn't a quick fix. It's slow, messy work, like untangling a Nadia necklace. But every time you shine a light on a shadow piece, say, admitting you're secretly competitive, you're stitching yourself back together. Jung called it becoming the real you. Not the airbrushed version we're all taught to chase. And man, that's worth the slog. Think of it like a superhero origin story. Every big shot from Hercules to Spider-Man had to face their dark side before they leveled up. Hercules wrestled his rage. Peter Parker dealt with guilt. Your shadow's no different, just waiting for its close-up. You don't need a cape, just a pen, some curiosity, and the guts to ask, what's under here? Here's a bonus. Try it with art if words aren't your thing. Doodle what's bugging you or blast music and see what vibes come up. Jung loved how creativity cracks the unconscious open. Your shadow might spill out in colors or a beat. Ready to give it a shot and see what it's been hiding? Turning shadows into strengths. Now let's get practical. How does this shadow stuff actually change your life? Integrating it doesn't mean you're suddenly perfect. It means you're real, and that shifts everything. Your relationships, your creativity, even your day-to-day vibe. It's not just navel-gazing. It's about taking that hidden mess and turning it into something you can use. Start with relationships. Ever notice how the same fights keep popping up? Like bickering with your spouse over who's right, or dodging your mom's guilt trips. Jung said people are like mirrors showing us our shadow when we least expect it. Your buddy's constant whining might echo your own buried frustration. Dig into that trigger. Why does it hit so hard? And you're not just mad anymore, you're piecing together what's been hiding inside you. Here's the magic! When you stop hiding your shadow, you show up different. You're not faking it to keep the peace, like nodding through a rant you secretly hate, you're real, and people feel it. Imagine dropping the mask with your best friend, admitting you're jealous of their new gig, or telling your partner you're scared of drifting apart. It's raw, but it's how you build trust that sticks. Creativity's another big win. Your shadow's like a power plant of untapped juice waiting to spark. That anger you hate, the one that flares up when you're cut off in traffic, could fuel a killer blog about road rage or a cause you'd fight for, like safer streets. That weird dream you ditched, like opening a bakery, might be the seed of a side hustle or a novel. Jung said the shadows where the good stuff hides, bottled up from years of be practical. Think about legends like Hemingway or Beyonce. They didn't shy away from their messy bits, they used them. Hemingway poured his brooding into stories that gut punch you. Beyonce turns heartbreak into anthems. Your shadow's got that same potential. Ever sidelined a hobby, like sketching or guitar, because it felt pointless? That's your shadow begging to play, and letting it loose could light up corners of your life you've ignored. Purpose ties it all together. Jung swore it's not some treasure hunt out in the world. It's in you, baked into your quirks and scars. Those struggles, like feeling small when your coworker shines or pissed off at unfairness, aren't random. They're your unique recipe for making a dent. Someone who's been down might lift others up with a podcast or a mentorship. That shadow turning into gold, raw energy redirected into meaning. Let's zoom out. We're all sold this idea that life's about winning, big job, big house, big smiles, but Jung said nah, it's about wholeness. Your shadow's the grit that balances the gloss. Without it, you're a flat character in your own story. Ever feel stuck like you're just going through the motions? Integrating this stuff, say, owning that you're secretly ambitious, can jolt you awake, pointing you toward what's yours to do. This isn't just about you, either. Jung thought when you sort your shadow, you ripple out of good vibes. You're calmer, less quick to snap at the barista, less judgy of your flaky friend, and that spreads. One person owning their stuff can flip a room, a family, maybe even a whole crew. Imagine a workplace where people aren't projecting their crap everywhere. It's a grind, no lie, patience, guts, the whole deal, especially when you're trained to keep it all shiny. But every step's like adding colors to a painting. You go from flat to freaking epic. Relationships get deeper, ideas get bolder. Your life starts feeling less like a script you're reading and more like a story you're writing. How's that for a payoff? Here's a nudge. Think of one shadow trait, like impatience, and how it could flip into a strength, maybe pushing you to fix something broken in your world. It's not about erasing it. It's about aiming it right. What could you build with that energy if you stop fighting it? The big reveal, your shadow's true power. Here's where it all lands. Your shadow isn't the bad guy. It's your ticket to the real you, the unfiltered full-color version. Jung nailed it when he said you don't get wise by chasing happy vibes. You do it by facing the dark and making it yours, turning what you feared into fuel. This isn't just self-help fluff, it's a game changer for how you live, breathe, and show up in the world. Embracing your shadow means getting vulnerable, admitting you're scared of failing, flawed at your core, human through and through. It's like stripping off armor you didn't know you were wearing. Suddenly you're lighter, truer, standing there with nothing to prove. Tell your best friend you're jealous of their carefree vibe, or your mom you're mad about that old fight. It's tough, sure, but it's how you connect deep beyond the surface chatter. Purpose clicks into place here. Your shadow's not blocking it. It's lighting the way like a lantern in a storm. That shame you've carried since you flunked that big test could push you to help others feel seen, maybe through teaching or just listening. That restlessness that keeps you pacing at night might drive you to build something wild, a business, a movement. Your mess isn't a detour. It's your mission, custom-made from your own struggles. But here's the jaw-dropper. Jung said this isn't just your story, it's everyone's, a thread in the big human tapestry. When you wrestle your shadow and win, you don't just glow, you light up the world around you like a match in a dark room. A planet full of people owning their dark sides would mean less finger-pointing, more fixing, less you're the problem, and more, we've all got baggage, let's sort it. Crazy, right? Think about it. Every time you judge less, like letting your coworker's smug win slide, or listen more instead of zoning out, you're proof this works. You're not just healing you, you're tossing a lifeline to the rest of us, showing how to trade chaos for calm. Jung called it the collective unconscious. Your growth doesn't stop at your edges. It bumps up humanity's game, one honest moment at a time. Zoom out with me, and we're all fed this line that happiness is the goal. Chase the highs, dodge the lows, but Jung said that's half the picture. Wholeness is the real prize, and your shadow's the missing piece. Without it, you're a shiny shell, not a full story. Ever feel that itch like you're meant for more but can't pin it down? This is it. You're dark and light, woven together, making you unstoppable. So here's your move. Peek at that shadow today, right now. What's it whispering? Grab a pen, ask it what's up. Maybe it's time to chase that dream you buried or forgive that grudge you've nursed like a pet. This isn't a one and done. It's your lifelong adventure to being whole. A slow burn that heats up everything. Your love, your work, your mark. Picture a world where we all did this. Your neighbor owns his temper. Your boss admits her doubts. Suddenly we're not just surviving, we're thriving together. Your shadow's not a solo act, it's a chorus, and when you sing it out, others join in. Conflict shrinks. Compassion grows. What could we build if we stopped hiding and started healing cities, families, futures? What's hitting you right now? Any shadows waving hello? Maybe that old fear of not being enough? Drop your thoughts. Your take might kickstart someone else's trip. Your aha could be their first step. You're not just reading this. You're stepping into a bigger, braver you, and I'm stoked to see where it takes you, across your street or across the planet. Thanks for writing this out with me. Here's to guts, truth, and the wild ride ahead. You've got this, Shadow and all.